First thing we do is pull the bike back. Now, depending on the size of the obstacle, I like to pull it back all the way until the front tire is about 3/4 of the way up the other side of the obstacle. So this is a little smaller. We could go from here, but I want everyone getting their front tire up on to the obstacle. So what we do here is we press through. This is another kind of explosive technique. We're pressing through the obstacle as quickly as possible. What I like to do is jump to the rear brake. So I drive forward, snap back, press through the obstacle, and jump to the rear brake to hold my bike in position. Just like that. Okay, that looks a lot easier than it is. It's kind of a weird, it's a quick trick, okay? You guys aren't gonna worry so much about that today. What you're gonna be doing is just the unstuck technique. So I want everyone finding a log and putting their front tire up on top, just like this. Now this is where, again, that front brake that I've been preaching for the last 2 days comes in handy. Because you can use your front brake to hold that bike in position. As we're setting up for this, if you find yourself doing this, not only do you look stupid, right? You also are probably not using your front brake. So I like to use front brake. I go about 3/4 of the way up the obstacle. I'm holding the front brake, steady throttle at the same time, and I'm going to that steady feed of clutch about midway through the friction zone. You can hear the bike. Steady. I start with my hips back. I stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight into the acceleration position on this obstacle. That same acceleration position you guys were working. Into the acceleration position, then I release the clutch. We're here, up onto the pegs, acceleration position, then release the clutch. Okay, we'll go up just a little on the obstacle, just so you see the movement. Same thing. Starting on this obstacle, I find that, I'm not gonna go all the way to the top because we kind of have a nice round, smooth obstacle that we're kind of dealing with. If this was a little more sharp, we would go to the top. If I was doing it on the big log, I would go closer to the top. In this situation, I'm gonna pull it back a little bit because I have the ability to do that. Understand, the higher your front tire is, the more of a disadvantage you have. The harder it is for you to get in front of the acceleration forces. The steeper that front tire goes, the harder this technique is going to be, okay? So we set up, hips back, stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight forward, then release the clutch. The increase of throttle is at the same speed of my movement forward. If you listen to my bike, I stand up onto the pegs and I drive the weight. As that happens, simultaneously, you'll hear an increase of throttle until I get all the way forward. Then I reduce the throttle and release the clutch. Same on, off, out, in, but just happening a little bit longer as we do the unstuck technique. We're here, stand up on the pegs, drive the weight, release the clutch. If you can see this, a little sharper. This side's a little steeper, so I'm gonna go all the way to the top and just back it up, like I said, about 3/4 of the way, maybe just above 3/4 of the way up the obstacle. Slipping, holding the front brake, slipping into the suspension. You can see here, guys, the suspension actually loads. That's another form of unload that we're actually gaining here, right? I'm slipping. See that suspension drop? As soon as I push that clutch out and hold that front brake, that suspension drops down. That's a new form of unload that I get as I release the clutch. Holding the front brake, steady throttle, steady slip of clutch, stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight, release the clutch, reduce the throttle. Sometimes you overcook it and you almost wheelie over, so you got to hit that rear brake. Okay. This is right at the limit of how high I can go on something like this. Pulling the bike back. This is a little below, because once again, If I go to 3/4, I'm at a bigger disadvantage. The higher the front tire is, the harder it is for me to get in front of the force. So I'm going to pull it down to maybe half. Slipping, hips back. Yeah, boy. Okay. That's the limit, right? Or close to. I kind of did that pretty clean, actually, but the understanding here is the movement. Can you guys see how I first initiate with the body? I stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight, get forward, get my weight forward, then I release the clutch. I get in front of the force so the bike can literally come out from under me. Think of it like you're trying to get to where your bike is going to be. Does that make sense? Your front tire's on the obstacle. Think of it like you're trying to get to the point to where your rear tire is going to be. You have to literally let the bike kind of come out from under you here. So if you notice when I do that, watch how the bike comes out from under me here, okay? Back, same thing. Hips back, stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight, release the clutch. The bike comes out from under me as I release the clutch, but I've got to get forward first. That makes sense? One more time from here. Hips back, up onto the pegs, drive the weight, release the clutch. Okay? Yes? Can you explain the throttle? Yes. So, what we're doing, kind of as I said in the beginning, we're in a steady throttle, steady slip of the clutch. I stand up onto the pegs, and with that drive forward, I am increasing the throttle, right? You remember when I said, the movement forward is almost the same sound of my throttle increasing. Did you guys catch that? As soon as I stand up onto the pegs and drive, it's also a simultaneous increase of throttle as I get in front of the machine. Clutch is still in that friction zone, still holding the bike in one position essentially, right? We're slipping slightly, there is input into the rear tire, but not enough to make the bike move. I stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight, increase the throttle, then right at this point, that's when the clutch is coming out. So I stand up, and I chop the throttle as I release the clutch, okay? Then, I will say on bigger obstacles, I'll transfer back to a steady slip and steady feed of clutch as I ride over the top. So it's the delivery and collection, always, to initiate these big moves, but then it's a transfer back to steady feed of clutch and throttle together. You have to have both tools in your tool bag. That's why the cone weave is so important. That on-command balance is exactly the same clutch control that I use as I hold traction over the top of these obstacles, right? The other piece of this is how important is balance in that situation? You don't have any momentum and you have to pretty much immediately stand up onto the pegs in a balanced position. Balance is very, very key. Did you guys see the line that I just did before I started explaining all this? I held pressure over that first log and stuffed into the second log, kept my feet on the pegs, held that balance, drive the weight back. Same exact movement though. Driving into the obstacle, then releasing the clutch to hold traction over. Doesn't matter if you do it feet on the pegs or feet off the pegs, it's a very similar technique. But balance, no matter what, is a key piece of this technique. Here we go. Balance is the first piece, but it's the same movement with the feet on the pegs. Little slip, hips back, drive the weight, release. Just like that. That's going to be the first step of this drill, if you're not comfortable doing it on an obstacle, you can start hips back, stand up onto the pegs, go into the acceleration position, head forward, then release the clutch. Slipping into the front brake, steady throttle, just like I would on the obstacle. Stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight, drop the heels, pull the knees back, and accelerate. Okay? Once you feel like you can do that on flat ground, the next thing you can do is do it on a slide uphill. Right? Front tire's up into the air, now you're at a slight disadvantage. You have to work harder to get in front of that force. Hips back, stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight. Exactly like that. Repeat it on different obstacles until you feel comfortable. These are all, some of them are a little sharper, you know, some of them are a little steeper, some tabletops are a little taller. Once you feel comfortable there, there's plenty of small logs, okay? On the small logs, it is the same move. Front tire on the obstacle, I pull it back slightly and slip in to the obstacle to hold me in position. This is also going to assist with your balance. Just like, remember this drill? Remember that? How that assists with your balance? It's the same thing if you hold your front brake and move it up a little bit. It's a little harder to balance, but it's the same. Okay? So slipping is going to assist you with your balance a little bit on that initiation of drive. Standing up onto the pegs, drive the weight, increase the throttle, reduce the throttle, release the clutch. Here we are. I'm on my left foot now, same thing. Stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight. So it's important for all of you that are practicing the unstuck technique to do it with both feet. Right foot on the ground, left foot on the ground, back and forth, back and forth. Now, personally, I'm more comfortable with my left foot on the ground. Same if I was going to do a layup, I jump off my left foot, right? I have a little more strength. Understand here that you literally are kind of jumping off of your left foot to get in front of that machine. Something I always like to say to everybody before we start, when you're walking up steps, you don't isolate each leg or each quad to step up the step. You use your left or right foot, whatever is the lower foot, to jump off the ground up the step. Okay, sometimes this is some people, I don't know, maybe you guys don't think about walking upstairs as much as I do. But when I step up a step, I use my left foot to assist my right leg to get up the step. Right? I push off the ground to get up the step. Everybody does that. Does everybody believe me? Okay. You don't go like this. You know what I'm saying? And try to isolate that quad and step through unless you're doing some sort of workout, doing pistol squats or something, right? So the understanding here of using that left foot to step up the step that is your peg is a key piece. I am jumping off of the ground into that acceleration position, off the ground, to assist me that attacking aggression into that movement. Does that make sense to everybody? So jumping off the ground, stepping up your pegs, getting in front of the machine, then releasing your clutch. The common thing that I will see is riders will release the clutch too early. Okay? Warren? Set your front tire on that log there, brother. Okay, good position. I like it. We're going to start, maybe even starting back a little bit. That's going to give you a little more leverage on the ground, right? The further back you get, the more it's going to squat and the more push off you can get with your left foot. Stand up onto the pegs, drive your weight. Get your head all the way to here, like you're trying to hit your visor on my hand. Then release the clutch, okay? Go ahead. Nice job. That was very good. Very nice. What was the maybe failure point there? Who said that? Balance. Somebody said balance. Yep. falling sideways, right? The little bit of balance, right? So this is where the understanding of static balance comes into play heavy here. Also, the other thing is a little more slip into the obstacle is going to allow you to come up a little bit straighter. This is just like the stuff that you guys were doing on drill number 3 on day number 1. Remember, putting the front tire up against the obstacle and slipping the front clutch into the obstacle. That holds you in position. If you can put your front tire up on the obstacle, holding that front brake and slip the clutch, it's the same exact thing. It's going to assist you with your balance. Balance is that place where it pulled you to the left, right? Any bigger, you would have probably spun. Great timing on the clutch. Most of the time, guys release the clutch too early. You didn't. Good job. I was thinking he was going to, just because most of the time that's what happens. A lot of you will run into that. Try to hold as long as you can without releasing your clutch. Does that make sense? Get all the way forward, then release it. Any other questions? Okay, guys, spread out. There's uphills, there's sharp ledges, there's logs. Plenty of work to do. I'll work with all of you. Give a little slip of clutch. There you go. Stand up onto the pegs, drive, then release. There you go. So right there, that was too early. Yes, you got to be aggressive with the stand through the ground, get above the pegs, get above the bike, then release the bike so the bike can come out from under you.
I was so far back.
Yes. So as soon as you're so far back like that and you release the clutch, all you can do is chop the throttle, or the bike wheelies over like what happened to Ruan. Now, the reason then you chop the throttle, and now you're high centered on the obstacle, so then you almost fell over, right?
Yep.
So later on your clutch release, hold as long as you can, okay? You got her, brother. Dude, not bad. That was really good. Dude, good balance. Go up a little bit with your front tire. Little further, 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 right there, right there. That's perfect. Jump off that ground, then release. That's that front brake. You gotta hold that front. I would also say a little bit of slip, right? To initiate the movement forward is gonna help you prevent that drop back down off the log. See, but keep the slip, bro. Slip, slip, slip the clutch, slip the clutch, slip the clutch, slip the clutch, slip the clutch. There you go. Now it ain't gonna fall back down. Perfect. Stand up onto the pegs, drive. There you go. Not bad. More aggression, right? It's got to be a heavy drive forward and more aggression with the slip. But did you see how the slip of the clutch prevented the bike from falling back down?
I forgot that.
Try to maximize that slip. Keep working. Good job. More. Get further forward before you release. You released too early, and that's why it felt like you had to chop and you didn't have any momentum, okay? So to prevent that, go into a little bit of a clutch slip before you start the movement. Okay, so put it back up there. Okay, slip the clutch, slip the clutch, slip the clutch. See, that's what I'm talking about. Right there. Keep it there. Now do it. There you go. See how big of a difference that made? Maybe a little more aggression. Increase the power as you move forward.
I think I'm just scared to like
Of course.
play it out.
100%. But it's good, man. That last one looked good. Good. Yeah, very nice. This is a good spot. Not bad. A little further, the sound was good. I like the amount of power that you gave, but I really want you to think about getting your head up here. You kind of went about halfway, and then it dropped back down, and you made it. But if you get further forward, you're going to be able to loft the front and get over really clean. Okay. Keep working. So there, you all right? Yeah, so there you actually left your foot on the ground the whole time. And you just released, and then that's what happens. It gets up, and then you have to chop, and then you just fall over because you're kind of high-centered, right? So let's get aggressive with that standing above the bike. In fact, check this out. One foot on, here, pull forward, check this out. Put your front tire right up on top of the obstacle here. I'm gonna hold your bike up for you, okay? But put your hand on the bar. I want you to stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight. Pull your clutch in as if you're doing it, okay? Pull your clutch in. All right, you're ready. Stand up onto the pegs, drive the weight. Boom, then release. Yes, again. Boom, that's how aggressive you need to be with the stand up. Then release the clutch, okay? All right. Very good. Okay, hips back as if you're on a log. Stand up onto the pegs, drive, then release. Increase the throttle as you drive, okay? A little more increase would be good. We're gonna draw another line for him. Front tire right there. Okay, this time try to hold on your clutch release a little longer and increase a little more. Did you hear how it was like kind of bog? Increase it so it, okay? All right, still a little bit too early. There you go. That was better. That was better. Same exact thing. Try not to release the clutch all the way. Like just bring your fingers out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like get it out to there, but don't let go with your hand. Okay? Same exact thing. Wait as long as you can on the clutch release. Yeah, much better. Much better. Good job. Keep working. So what we end up seeing is commonly guys are too early with their clutch release. They set up, they start their drive, and then they release the clutch. The bike essentially comes out from under you. So if you're not all the way forward, the bike has nowhere to come out from under, and you have to chop the throttle, and then you usually end up falling over or not making over the obstacle. So he's been trying to get it on this log here. We actually reverted him back to just a simple uphill and doing the same exact movement, stepping onto the pegs, driving the weight, getting in front of the machine, and then releasing the clutch. Even on that one, I listened, it was too early on the clutch release. The later he can release, the more he can load the engine, the more he can get in front of the machine, and the easier it's gonna be for him to let the machine come out from under him and make it over the top of the obstacle. This unstuck technique is so key for your development in those technical situations, and practicing on a small log is such a dialed part for your progression. Not bad, still a tiny bit early. Get that weight forward, then release the clutch.